Well, get to the point anyway. Usury, or interest, a universal sin. That's why the sound was off. Apparently. That's a huge one. And I didn't really know how huge until I started really digging into it. As I said before, a lot of the books on the Bible don't have a lot of information on this. And they point you at scriptures that aren't there, and that's intentional. We know that trick, and we've seen that one before. From the biblical viewpoint, though, usury is a heinous, note the word, S-I-N. We know what that word means. Let us examine, though, what the Bible plainly says about usury and see how prevalent this sin is in today's society. The main Hebrew words used for usury are H5391, Neshach, or Neshach, H5392. In modern parlance, usury has become to mean an exorbitant rate of interest or amount of interest in excess of a legal rate charged to a borrower for the use of money. However, usury in the King James Version meant a premium or increase paid or stipulated for a loan of money or goods, interest. The lending out of money with an interest rate charged for its use. The taking of or practice of taking interest. See Webster's Third New International Dictionary on usury. As we shall see, this latter definition is also the intent of biblical Hebrew. It, however, conveniently removes the word sin from the definition and the attendant penalties for this sin. Exodus, the 22nd chapter, the 25th verse. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him an usurer, neither shall you lay upon him usury. A little different, huh? A little bit more concrete. Then I found Leviticus 25, 35th verse. It is more specific. And your countryman becomes poor, and if he becomes dependent on you, then you shall support him like an alien and like a temporary resident, and he shall live with you. You must not take interest or usury from him, but you shall revere your Elohim, and your countrymen shall live with you. You must not give your money to him with interest or give your food for profit. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. That kind of cinches it. I am your Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out from the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, to be as Elohim for you. It states that we are to relieve our poor brethren, taking no usury or increase from them. Many in the churches and even in old Israel have used this to get over on their brethren and live on them, let us say, on the cheap, and giving the bare minimum. And this continued even when they got up on their feet and were able to move out on their own. Many did not. Many never did and ripped off their brethren. Using the Bible to do so. Verse 37. You shall not give your money on usury, nor lend them thy victuals for increase. Why? Verses 38 and 39. Because Yahweh brought Israel out of Egyptian slavery. Therefore, we are not to put our brothers into slavery to us. There is to be no increase at all when we loan to our brethren. That doesn't include, however, giving them something for their hospitality. That was overlooked in a lot of cases. You may lend with usury to strangers. However, Deuteronomy 23:19 adds a whole nother dimension to this concept. Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, the 19th verse. You shall not lend upon usury to your brother. Usury of money, usury of victuals, food. If anybody ever watched the Beverly Hillbillies, that's what Granny was talking about. Victuals. Anybody running back? Wrestle out them victuals. That's what Granny was talking about. Or food. Usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger you may lend upon usury. Well, keep going. But unto your brother you shall not lend upon usury, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all that you set your hand to in the land where you go to possess it. Who is your stranger? Who is your brother? In the physical nation of Israel, the Israelites were brothers and Gentiles were strangers. But our last two sermons taught us that clearly all of the others of the land had so heavily invested in the others that they were all blood. Changed the rules a little bit. Again, who is your brother? Who is a stranger? In the physical nation of Israelites, the Israelites were brothers and Gentiles were strangers. Any others in the land of Israel were mixed with Israelitish blood by their forbidden associations and fornication with the Canaanites, the Hivites, or any other vites in the area. And the other groups, all of which Yahweh told them not to associate or breed with, but they didn't obey him until they had no other choice. And then all of a sudden, they came to be threatened. And notice before this passage that it is an end time prophecy. Everybody is real quick to go to Daniel and real quick to go to Revelation. But how many times have you been led to Zephaniah, the first chapter, the 10th verse? Zephaniah, the first chapter, the first verse. The word of Yahweh, which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushi, son of Jedaliah, the son of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume all things from off the land. Remember, though, it's the end time. Hasn't happened yet. Three, I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut off man from off the land, saith Yahweh. I will also stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place. They don't do that over there anymore. They don't worship idols in Jerusalem anymore, do they? According to this, they do not ever stop. I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Shemarims with the priests. Notice again, this is an end time prophecy for Jerusalem. Verse 5. And them that worship the host of heaven, what? Upon the housetops. And them that worship and that swear by Yahweh and that swear by Malcolm. And then them that are turned back from Yahweh. And those that have not sought Yahweh, nor inquired for him. Hold thy peace at the presence of Yahweh Elohim, for the day of Elohim is at hand. For Yahweh has prepared a sacrifice. He has bid his guests, and it shall come to pass in the day of Yahweh's sacrifice. That I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. A few clarifications are needed here to go forward in knowledge. First of all, who are these Shemarims? The Shemarims are false priests. Somebody said somewhere that those people over there weren't who they said they were. The Shemarim were false priests who may have claimed to serve Yahweh Elohim, but in reality sacrificed to Baal, Molech, and other pagan deities. The Shemarim were the pagan priests whom Zephaniah pronounced judgment against. Baal worship in Judah was put down by King Josiah. The word Chemarim comes from a root word that means black. Why the Hebrews called them, however, false priests, that wasn't it. The Hebrews called them false priests. This is unclear to scholars, Shemarim. But the theory holds water when it is held up to existing scriptural evidence. The false priests wore black garments as opposed to the white garments Yahweh had specified that Levitical priests should wear. Leviticus, the 16th chapter, the 4th verse. He shall put on the linen, holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. Every time they went into the temple to sacrifice, they changed their clothing. Leviticus, the 16th chapter, the 23rd verse. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments, which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth, and offer his burnt offering, and the burnt offering of the people. This is obviously the Day of Atonement. And make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn up upon the altar. And he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward come back into the camp. In fresh clothing. Note the slovenly methods of the priests of Molech and all the others. The garments of the Shemarim were usually darkened by soot from their numerous incense burnings. The Chemarim branded their foreheads, or the blackness of the Shemarim was a reference to the smoke of the fires in which they sacrificed children to Molech. A little bit different, huh? And all of the scholars got hung up on black. And missed this completely. The obscurity of the word's meaning indicates that Yahweh did indeed carry out his promise that the very names of the Shemarim, as well as the priests themselves, would be forgotten. Yahweh has spoken, and his word is as good as action. Zechariah, 1st chapter, the 9th verse. Zechariah, the 1st chapter, the 9th verse. In the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, says Yahweh, that there shall be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. That's the hills in the distance that are being knocked down to a plain. Today, it applies in the spiritual sense. Fellow believers are brethren and non-believers are strangers. And a belief that it was fueled by the world of men and not supported by the word of Yahweh. Notice, lending can be a blessing. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 12th verse. Yahweh shall open unto you his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto your land in his season, and to bless all the land, the work of thy hand. And you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow. And borrowing becomes a curse. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 43rd verse. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above you very high, and you shall come down very low, whoever is the president. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. And the only time the tail wags the dog is in the movies. The only time the tail wags the dog is in the movies. Proverbs, the 28th chapter, the 8th verse. He that by usury and unjust gain increases his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. Even though some pray and fast and seem to be following Yahweh, they exact all their labor. Isaiah, the 58th chapter, the 3rd verse. Isaiah, the 58th chapter, the 3rd verse. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and you see us not? Wherefore have we afflicted our souls, and you take no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast, you find pleasure, and exact all your labors. Not some, all. Verse 4. Behold, you fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the wicked fist of wickedness. That's like the elections. You shall not fast as we do, as you do this day, to make your voice heard, to be heard on high? Is it such a fast that I have chosen? A day for a man to afflict his soul? Big old question mark there. Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahweh? Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? It is not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that you will bring the poor that are cast out to your house? When you seest the naked, that you cover him, and that you hide not yourself from your own flesh? Then shall your light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of Yahweh shall be your reward. Then shall you call, and Yahweh shall answer. You shall cry, and he shall say, Here I am. If you take away from the midst of your people the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity, and it didn't say which finger. And if you draw out your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and your darkness be as the noonday. Because people have transgressed Yahweh's laws, the land shall be utterly emptied and spoiled. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. Isaiah, the 24th chapter, the first verse. Isaiah, the 24th chapter, the first verse. Behold, Yahweh makes the earth empty, and makes it waste, and turns it upside down, and scatters abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, and with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower. Equality at last in the end times. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh has spoken his word. The earth mourns and fades away, and the world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, before they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore has the as has the curse devoured the earth. That's what's happening right now. COVID is a result of it. The cause not. I don't know where it came from. But it's doing the job that we have earned on this earth. Not we, the people that do his will, but this is a democracy, right? There are more of them voting than us, where the vote counts anyway. Verse 6, therefore has the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. That's coming. Usury creates ill feeling. And that's the background for all this. One thing that's happening, a lot of people don't know. People are not making a whole lot of money at the bottom. At the top, there's all kind of money coming in. But that money is worth nothing. But the feeling is still there. Usury creates ill feeling. Jeremiah, the 15th chapter, the 10th verse. Jeremiah, the 15th chapter, the 10th verse. Woe is me, my mother, that you have borne me, a man of strife and a man of contention to the whole earth. I have neither lent on usury, nor men have lent to me on usury. Yet every one of them does curse me. Why? You didn't do anything. That's why. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything against it either. That's not what he was talking about here, though. But that's the way people feel. You're not in the game. You don't have nothing to say. A mark of a man, of a just man, is one that has not oppressed any, but has restored to the debtor his pledge, has spoiled none by violence, has given his bread to the hungry, and has covered the naked with a garment. He that has not given forth upon usury, neither has taken any increase, that has withdrawn his hand from iniquity, has executed true judgment between man and man. Contrariwise, a mark of an unjust man is one that has given forth upon usury and hath taken increase. Shall he then live? He shall not live. He has done all these, what's that word? Abominations? He shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. That can be found in Ezekiel, the 18th chapter, the 13th verse. In Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter, the 1st through the 31st verses, Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter, the 1st through 31st verses. Read this on your own. It reads better than your newspapers and your news. Those that have taken usury and increase go directly to verse 12. Are placed in the same category here as Sabbath breakers, adulterers, those that engage in bribery and extortion. It can't get much clearer than that you're not supposed to be living this way. Yeshua told the publicans in Luke, the 3rd chapter, the 12th verse, to exact no more than that which is appointed to you. Luke, the 3rd chapter, the 12th to the 13th verses. And tax collectors also came to be baptized, and they said to him, "Teacher, what should we do?" And he said to them, "Collect no more than what you are ordered to." The tax collectors back then, they could, anytime they wanted to, exact as much money from you as they wanted. And no one questioned it. And all of a sudden now, they see Yeshua there, and what am I supposed to do here? Do what's right. Collect no more than what you are ordered to. And those who were served in the army, they did the same thing. We're also asking him, what should we also do? And he said to them, extort from no one, and do not blackmail anyone. You all thought he didn't know what was going on. He knows more than you do. He looks high to low. And that's why I just all of a sudden, after all that expenditure, stop chasing every conspiracy theory. He sees them all, and he will eventually punish them all. And he said to them, extort from no one, and do not blackmail anyone, and be content with your pay. Does Yahweh require interest? We thought so. But the place we were continually going to present this was Matthew 25. The parable of the talents. Here he shows Elohim telling the wicked servant that who did nothing with what he was given to him. You oughtest therefore at least to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received what is mine own with usury. What? Something doesn't sound right there. But it's a digging into the book as a whole before you find the answer. Luke 19th chapter, the 23rd verse, modern translations render usury as interest. Does this mean that Elohim requires interest? In the spiritual sense, indeed. When has the Bible ever contradicted itself? If you have a real contradiction, you have probably found a parable that you have interpreted the wrong way. These talents, or these spiritual gifts given to us from Elohim, are what gets us into the kingdom of God. All the money in the world won't do that. That's not what he was talking about. Yeshua was not saying that you should have given his money back with interest, but he had placed more emphasis on the spiritual gifts he gave you. He expected a bigger return on his investment in you. Elohim has chosen us and ordained us that we should go and bring forth fruit that remains, grows, and lasts unto the kingdom of Elohim. The answer, as it is in John, the 15th chapter, the 16th verse. And everybody was so busy cheering for a contradiction of terms that they could go on using people. John, the 15th chapter. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, not your money. Not your money. That whatsoever you shall ask of me in the Father's name, he may give it to you. That one caught us for a long time. And all they were doing was justifying usury. Now you know the truth. How many of you have bought homes? How many of you have looked at your amortization schedule? How many times over within that schedule have you bought your house?
At least 3.
I'm up to 10. Pello Butt's Bible Dictionary article, Usury, states that the practice of mortgaging land sometimes, all the time now, is exorbitant. Exorbitant interest rates grew up among the Jews during the Babylonian captivity in direct violation of the law of Yahweh. And anybody that buys property now, and you don't buy property now. You buy the house that sits on the property. The land never moves. And a lot of times you don't even do that nowadays. There's a reason for that. But it's not in there because that practice isn't in there. People put it in there, but I didn't find it in there. Here's that what Nehemiah, the 5th chapter, the 1st verse says about that. Shows the effect of mortgage usury. Some of the Jews who returned from captivity had mortgaged their property so that they could buy corn during a drought. And others had borrowed money to pay the king's tribute with their property held on mortgage by who? The king. Something wrong about that. Something real wrong about that. Those under the yoke of mortgage were under bondage, and many had lost their property. Truly, as Proverbs 22:7 says, the borrower is servant to the lender. Nehemiah was angry when he heard about this. He said, "You exact usury everyone on his brother." Nehemiah 5, the 7th chapter. Calling an assembly to stop this practice, Nehemiah demanded the restoration of foreclosed property. The 1% interest on money charged along with the produce counted as interest. Do these things to the brethren? To do these things to the brethren is a great sin. 1%? A sin? He said, don't do it at all. There should be no increase required. A little here and a little there. Is a little interest okay? Already said no. That's what he does, though, man. He whittles away and whittles away and whittles away. And God lets you do that sometimes. On this, though, he never did. Because he knows what people will do. And we're going to find out pretty soon. That little shot they're making us get for that virus has some stuff in it that makes you somebody else's property. And I'm not going to take it. And once you become somebody's property, it's easy to sell you off and somewhere else. Somewhere else has said that one of the things that are going to be in sale in the end times is human souls. But they keep slipping this interest thing in here. There are some nowadays who says that Yahweh only condemned excessive interest. Until recently, laws of several states forbid interest rates in above 12%. Bible said 1, and it shut that down. And nobody reads the Bible anymore. Would have thought somebody would have picked up on that one for their own self-interest. And people have learned over these ensuing years to vote against their self-interest. You know that already. Anyone who charged more was guilty of usury. And the thing is, they were guilty when they charged at all. Even Adam Clarke, in his famous Bible commentary, agrees with this view. That's one of the most read commentaries on the planet. And he agrees with this view of a little bit is okay. The Bible doesn't. The Bible doesn't. Who you going to believe? Adam Clarke or God? Debt usury is one of the vilest forms of slavery. Everyone that had a creditor or nishak joined themselves with David. 1 Samuel, the 22nd chapter, the first verse. First Samuel 22nd chapter, the first verse. Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Who are you alone, and no man with you? And David said unto Abimelech the priest, The king has commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know this thing of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded you, and I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under your hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, and there is hallowed bread. Is the young men have kept themselves at least from women? And David answered the priest and said to him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified in this day. The long and short of it is, they let them eat the showbread. They weren't supposed to do that, but under the circumstances, it was allowed. Like Israel of old, today's Israel has likewise sold herself to her creditors. Interest and debt is the foundation of this world's economic system, especially the Western world. And we're all crushing under that system. A few people, 1%, own everything. and everybody else is scrapping around for crumbs. And the more they do it, they dangle a little stock in front of you, and people are, oh, you get enough stock, I'm going to be rich enough to fight back. It'll never happen. And if it does, you watch yourself to do the same things other rich people have done throughout the history of this planet. You get on top and you squash down everybody else just like everybody before you did. Nothing will change. Many books and articles have been written about the Federal Reserve System, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and I'm talking conspiracy stuff here, but these are legitimate conspiracies. Look enough about them, you'll find stuff, and stuff that will curl your hair. Most of our presidents are members of some of these groups, if not all of them. They meet out in the woods every year. I better start talking about this stuff, not because they are taking people off of Facebook now for saying this stuff. Well, I'm pretty safe because I was up here for about 45 minutes, and if they've got robots looking through it, they might not find it. But if they do, it's still true. But the big bankers who control most of the world's debt money the thing is, the money is worthless. The more money goes into the system, the less it's worth. But the thing is, as long as they can print more money, they can do more. There are 2 books on the subject. Billions for Bankers, Debts for the People, How Did It Happen? By a guy named Sheldon Emery. And the other one, The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin, that's the one I've got. And that one curled my hair when I had it. The hair, I mean. Article 1 of the United States Constitution says, Congress shall have power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. Instead, since the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, Congress has abdicated this power to a private corporation of bankers called, funny enough, the Federal Reserve. And ain't nothing federal about them, and they don't reserve nothing for anybody but themselves. No new money ever comes into the economic system without interest and debt. Unless we end this system, we will be visited by a God that don't like that system much. And at that point, you've got a choice to make between Yahweh and your 401k. Easy choice in my eyes. Easy choice in my eyes. That one was a little choppy because the information is all over the place, and I will continue to find it and bring it together in a less scattershot way in the future. But any questions?
On the internet, and I listened to most of it, there's a very long treatise on how we got in this position, starting back from the time we were colonists. And they said we took loans from the Vatican Bank to pay off. When we went bankrupt, declared bankruptcy, now they own us, and we are actually property of the Vatican Bank. And they have a right to exact any interest they want from us. And what the so-called duly elected president has inherited is about $30-some trillion in debt he'll have to deal with, and he's not going to like it. He can't pay it back.
Yeah, because that's why they're transhumanizing us, and they're going to pay it back with us, if that's true. And there is some truth to that. That's one of the things about this thing. When you look into it, there are so many stories, and all of them weave together, and all of them have some truth. That one too has some truth.
When they established the Federal Reserve, it was written in their bylaws and everything, but when they loan us money and everything and we owe them so much, what are they using for collateral over us? And they said, the real property of the United States. What is the real property? Real estate. The land you're walking on.
That's not what I heard. Most of the banks let people sell their slave stock, and most of the wealth of this country in this age is from slavery. And this is proven by, of all people, Dorothy Tillman did some yeoman work on this a few years back, and haven't heard from her since. Yep. Perry.
The use of usury violates two of the basic Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not steal.
Yep.
The government has a way of saying, well, we're using these taxes to fix the roads, and we go to the schools, and then we go in here to build the buildings. Well, they go to buildings, but none of it goes to the roads of the school. That's what the whole week of the Chicago school is dealing with. They're telling the people that these schools are 150 years old, they have poor air conditioning. You want us to go out here and work with a deadly virus with poor circulation and take a chance on exposing us and the kids and everything. But the mayor and the governor, they insist, oh, well, we have to raise these taxes a bit in order to get things done. You never got it done when you did raise them last time. So what's the difference this time?
They're millionaires and billionaires, yes.
Right. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor.
I read last week, I think it was, that the weed sales, marijuana for the uninitiated, have tripled the income of this state. Most of the money has disappeared. Most of the money has disappeared, and they don't know where it is.
There you go.
But that was supposed to be our out for lower taxes. And no news outlet has launched an investigation into where that money went. the person that does it will have two things in their hands: a Pulitzer in one and a contract in the other. Sherry.
Pastor, you know, the tides have turned. What's considered wrong has been considered right. What's considered right has been considered wrong. And the cannabis. One time they were locking people up for even having a little bit. And now you can own it and make money.
And nobody has said a word about decriminalizing it on the people that were sentenced for it years ago.
And it's used for medical purposes,
Medicinal and the
good and bad and everything.
Sherry, Ruby first.
Two things. When we spoke about the scriptures about where it said not to charge more than what you should in interest, and you asked the question, how many times have we paid off our bills? I calculated it for my husband owned the house for 46 years. When he got it was at 24 years of age. When he bought the house was at $24,000. By the end of the year when we paid and we got our paper, we had paid $275,000. That's almost 12 times.
Yeah.
That was one. And it just really, really made me think. The other regarding of how the government uses the money that they allocate, that they said this is for us. Before I got fired, I was given the opportunity to take charge of all the things that every teacher needed. And the principal told me, you do as you're told. You only give them 2 boxes of ream of paper, 2 of this and 2 of that. Then when they came to him, and I had to put all that in the computer, so all the companies, I knew that these are the supplies that the teachers need. The new administration that took over, they had Persian rugs in the thousands, mahogany desks, files, computers. I mean, I'm talking about the beautiful Apple computers, flat top, you name it. And when they told me, you're not to take, you're only supposed to get for you a box of 2 pencils, so you could write down, and some markers of this, I was so upset. And I know that's why they fired me, because what I did, one of the teachers, one of the maintenance left when they put their little cart inside the laundry area. She had kind of hit the water line on the 2nd floor. And I realized this was on a Friday when we came back on a Monday. It was flooded up to our caps, the whole school. We had to ask that we needed carpet for all the rooms, and they denied it. And when they said, Ruby, you gotta do this, just give them whatever. We look at the second-hand stores where they have these certain places where they only have old school. Says, no, I got them all brand new carpets and air conditionings and whatnot. They were livid, and that's why they made my life that last year impossible, till they fired me. And they made sure to teach me a lesson I had gotten hurt at the school. I decided, well, everybody's suing everybody. I don't want to be part of that statistic. I'll let it go and pray about it. And that's when my back got injured, never got back again. When they fired me, they sent me a letter saying, you're no longer, 2 weeks late, that letter came in. Say you're not to come back or ask why we were fired. You're terminated. But by then, they had terminated my insurance. And that's how they made their money. So I got really messed up with bills after bills because of my surgery. And for what? Because these people just looked at themselves. They didn't care what the kids needed, and there were so many in need. Our special ed department needed major help for all these babies because we had pre-Ks that handicapped, that were on wheels, and they could not supply us special ramps for them. They said, that's what the parents are for. They could carry them in. And they were doing it. And I said, I can't do this. And I thought the school system was a very great place to work. My husband says, stop working in a nursing field. You do a lot. Do the school, that's prestigious. Yeah, right. It was the worst place ever. Where I
Anything,
Like government.
anything ruled by politicians is,
Right, governmental.
It just tore me up. I said, I
Sarah.
can't believe it.
I don't know if anyone saw this on the news recently, this week, but they were saying that our freedom of speech rights are going to be taken completely away, even in your own home. And they were saying, they were saying they can tap into your phone and listen if they find, if they hear you
They've been
say
doing that the whole
something.
time anyway.
Right. But they can now charge you with a hate crime because of what you may say in your own home. So this world is.
But isn't that also invading privacy? Then where does that come to play?
They're disregarding the Constitution.
I don't know about that one. It's against the Constitution. Perry.
This is a way of getting rid of all of God's commandments and throwing out some of the laws that which the founding fathers wanted us to have. Because anytime now when they tell you, well, you're getting your money and you're paying taxes and nothing's being done, that's stealing. When they start telling you that you can't be on the phone, you can't say what you want to say in your own house, then they're basically taking away your right as a citizen. Because if you take away press and freedom of speech, that's it. That means that you are to shut up or face the consequences.
That's socialism.
That's socialism in its purest form.
101, that's what they want.
And I've been looking at all the taxes, because, Markham was not a very high price tax area compared to Homewood, but it's getting there now. And people are paying, my nephew, he done paid the household at least about 5 times. And he only been there for like 7 years now.
Well, Biden wants to raise taxes, that's what he's bragged about. He said he's gonna raise everything.
But here's the question, how you gonna raise taxes and send a stimulus check of $1,400?
I know, right.
$14,000,
Well, you just keep credit, that's what the whole sermon was about, right?
But you're gonna raise the taxes.
Right.
You're losing actually what you're making.
Right.
If there's nothing to appreciate what you're giving out,
Right.
you might as well just stop right there and say no more stimulus.
Right.
You're just putting the country more and more debt.
Well, that was going to happen anyway because that's in the system from the beginning. That's the whole idea. Once the Congress abdicated their whole process of printing money, regulating it, worth of it, all of that, and gave it over to a private bank, you have no control at that point. A private bank is only about their bottom line. I worked for at least 5 of them. The only thing that they have anything to do with is their bottom line. Dwayne.
When summer comes, and indeed spring, when we start sitting outside with the doors open, may I suggest that we start singing a whole lot more softly.
Yeah.
There's people down the street that might hear it and turn us in.
Oh, there you go, right?
Yep. I had thought about that, but
Over quality instead of quantity for a while.
yeah. Yeah. What we might do what we did last year, and most everybody is in here. Yep. And the speaker was out there, one speaker out there, but it wasn't very loud. One person had taken up on himself to sit out there and listen, but I didn't hear anything else from that. That's what we will probably do.
If we can learn to sing like a choir in parts, the neighbors will probably think it's on the recording on the radio. Let them think what they will.
Yeah, but things are so getting crazy now to a point where our rights are being eroded. And a lot of this is going to get worse before it gets any better, because even the book says you're openly making a choice now. And I've said it in the past, but I didn't get much traction to it. Every vote now for this government, in the knowledge that everything they do is against God, is a vote against God. And I have a lot of difficulty. At one time, I had a lot of difficulty in saying that. I don't have that difficulty anymore. Anyone else? That's it today.
Thank you.